In the meantime, I was also thinking about the 2024 Arkansas season, and apparently Mr. Sam Pittman is in big trouble because Arkansas did not have a good season last year. I've got like a record of Pittman from 2020, 2023. 2020, they went from 3-3 to 0-4. 2021, 4-3 to 5-1. 2022, they were 3-3 to 4-3. Last season, they went from 2-0 to 2-8. So when they lost to BYU, what happened in that Arkansas BYU game afterwards?
Well, I mean, he underperformed in 22. I mean, we felt like, especially with KJ and who they had up front on the offensive line, who they had in the backfield, we felt like this should be a team that wins at least. They either match or they go above, and they obviously didn't do either in 22. They went 7-6. They did win the Liberty Bowl. They did beat KU. And I'm going to say, if you ask me a positive about Sam, I would say he's 2-0 in bowl games. He beat Penn State in the very last final Outback Bowl and finished ranked that year, but he's only managed to do that once in 4 years. Yeah, it all just collapsed. The defense started playing worse. I don't know the Dan Enos stuff. I'm going to be real with you. I kind of stopped throughout the offseason. Once we got into January and February, I just put all that so far behind me. I wouldn't even talk about it on the live shows. Like, yeah, he was here. It happened. And it's my job to go back, and when fans want to talk about it, I'll talk about it, and I will, and I have. But, I mean, mentally for me, when I'm typing up notes, getting ready to do stuff for if I'm trying to plan out a month, every offseason I've always gone back the previous year. This is the first year I haven't done that. It's like, we know what happened. They went 4-8. Somehow they managed to beat an equally bad Florida team in Gainesville. Don't know how they did that, but the run game was responsible for a lot of that, and a different offense there. I think threw Florida off a little bit with a different coordinator because they'd fired Enos before that. But yeah, I don't know. It is really frustrating. I'm glad they at least got a conference win, I guess. So he's got that under his belt. He's never not won a conference game in an entire season, I guess, if that's something you're going to brag about. But, his best conference record is 4-4. That's the best he's done in 2021. And when you look back, that cannot be acceptable that you went, of course, 2020, you can't hold against anybody. You played a conference-only schedule in the SEC. But he went 3-7, which was an upgrade compared to where they had been under Chad Morris the previous 2 years.
And they ended that conference losing streak against Mississippi State on October 3rd of 2020.
Right. And then you go 500 the next year, which is fantastic in the SEC. 9-4 overall. But then you go 3-5. Now you're 1-7. That cannot be acceptable. So no. Yeah, his seat. You said his seat's hot. I mean, it's. I thought it was so hot he wasn't going to survive the season last year, and he stayed on, and fans went crazy when Hunter Yurchek came out and said that we have no plans of making a coaching change. I mean, my live chat, it was unreal. I mean, fans were just livid. My Discord was livid. Patreon livid. Everyone just mad. And so they hired Bobby Petrino, and I know we'll get to that in a minute, but it feels like with football right now, they're just trying to put out one fire after another. And the season did not help. I don't know what happened. You look at that Mississippi State game, they scored 7 points.
That was pitiful.
What happened? Like, it's so frustrating. It's the reason why, because I'm fat. All right. I got to monitor my blood pressure. Okay. My calorie intake. And it doesn't do me any good, Jackson, to look back on what happened in 2023. It was ridiculous. Even if you lost to Mississippi State, okay, whatever. We knew that this wasn't a good season. You should have beaten Mississippi State, by the way, but you didn't. 7 points? I mean, I don't know.
This looks like Wake Forest, Virginia Tech from 2014 to me. Like Arkansas, Mississippi State. It's like good grief.
Yeah, they've sunk to a level we thought Pittman had got them over. And that's what's so frustrating about all this. And that Arkansas Mississippi State game did it for me. I mean, I was already up at that point, was like, boy, this is just not good. And then that game just cemented it for me. Like, this is unbelievable. And then they were forced to make a change in firing Dan Enos. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, they're going to go into next season. I know we're going to talk. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but yeah, his seat's red hot, and we're going to have to wait and see how it unfolds.
Well, there's one thing you're going to love about this 2024 schedule. No Alabama.
Yeah, but again, I hate to sound pessimistic, but I don't know how else to be with football. I'm not that way with basketball. I'm not that way with baseball. But does it matter? You know, like, oh, great, no Alabama, and yeah, that's great. And when the schedule was released, that was the number one thing talked about, you know, everywhere. Oh, no Alabama, thank God. Does it matter? You know, they've still got, and by the way, and I'm going to say this about the schedule, it's actually, as a fan of college football, as a fan of SEC football, this is a fantastic schedule. I mean, when you look at the games they're playing in Fayetteville, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, who's riding high, Texas. I mean, some great games being played in Fayetteville. Incredible. However, they do start the year off on a Thursday night. I love Thursday night football, but they're doing it down. They're doing it down in War Memorial. I do not like that stadium. My people that watch my show know how I feel about playing in Little Rock. They shouldn't be doing it, but they're going to start off August 29th against UAPB. Then they're going to go to Stillwater and take on Oklahoma State. So, yeah, it's a fun schedule. When I say fun, it's not fun. It's probably not going to be fun for Arkansas fans. But had it been any other year, let's say you go back to the Petrino era, maybe even the better part of the Bielema era, or of course the Houston Nutt era, this would be a fun schedule. If you're thinking about going to a game in Fayetteville, look at these options are awesome. Your first game in Fayetteville, however, I don't like that it's mid-September before you play in Fayetteville again, or at all at the beginning, going into or getting through the month of September. Then you're on the road at Auburn. You're down in Arlington to play the inside AT&T Stadium against A&M. But then you've got Tennessee, LSU, and eventually Ole Miss and Texas. That's awesome. However, how many of those? It's not going to be fun. The ride home from those games are likely not going to be fun. But any other year, it would be like, this is awesome. And unfortunately, the reaction by Hog fans is, well, do we win a single one of those games in Fayetteville? So, yeah, it's an interesting schedule. I again had Arkansas. Maybe if they were coming off a 7 or 8 win season from a year ago, we'd be looking at this schedule going, oh my God, this is awesome. But that's not the reaction you're going to get from most fans. It's going to be, God, I hope we make a bowl game.